Alright guys, welcome back to another operaomnia video where we are going to be talking about Burst Plus. Specifically, I want to go back to the list of BT characters that we got going on, look at what their burst effect does, and how potentially busted they will be whenever we finally have the chance to realize their burst weapons into something very overpowered. Now you look at the list that we got going now, and this list right here excludes the two who are able to realize their weapons, which is Zidane and Yustola. You look at this list and the possibilities of being able to do some crazy stuff is practically endless. So we're gonna talk about all that. So as always, if you do enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button, guys. Subscribe for future content, as I am trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and the amount of support I've been getting lately has been, it's been crazy, let's just say that. So I'd appreciate the support and the support that I have been receiving lately on the videos. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, guys. Let's talk about a few notable characters that I know off the top of my head as to what I'm excited for whenever they finally get their burst realization. Now before we begin, I want to ask everybody to let me know in the comment section below which burst user you'd be most excited about to get their realization. Which ones do you think would be the most busted of busted burst users once they get their realizations? So let's start off with the first character that came to mind who would have a powerful realization of their burst weapon, which is Ultimisia. Now Ultimisia's burst effect, what it does at the moment is it is a 3-turn burst effect that deletes targets next turn with her own abilities, and this only applies once per turn and excludes chase attacks. Now think about it. If this were to get extended, and if you had the ability to use this burst effect twice, why even worry about bringing anybody else when it comes in terms of making sure that you don't get hit if you have Ultimisia to basically delete their turns and not have to worry about the enemies doing any type of damage to you, aside from, you know, depending on like if there's a percentage thing where if they like hit you or debuff you, whatever. But outside of that small little mechanic from LUFENIA Plus, this burst effect I feel like could potentially be very powerful. Next one that came into mind was Gauntlet. Now Gauntlet's burst effect is actually a very strong one, and it's one of my top favorite burst weapons when it comes to burst effects. Now this is a party-wide effect. It increases brave damage dealt by 30%, 35%, 40%, 45%, it goes up to 50%, increases the HP damage dealt, and it goes up to 30%. It increases the maximum brave damage limit up to 40%, or up to 13,998. It increases the stolen brave overflow limit up to 40%. The level goes up by 1 after every ally turn to a limit of 4, and the level is reset when an enemy takes a turn. Now just think about it. Imagine this burst effect lasting much longer for the party. Imagine all of those percentages that I just mentioned being much higher than what is currently stated or what he offers right now with his burst effect. And just imagine not having to worry about any type of let's just say some, I can't say everything, but not having to worry about some of the brave reduction that the boss already does now, because where we are on the JP side, it looks like they're starting to add more than just brave reduction, you know, based off of my experience with the Pandemonium LUFENIA Plus fight. But aside from that, just think about getting extra percentages, going past that limit of percentages that they have right now with Gauntlet's burst effect, because Gauntlet's burst effect is actually one of my favorites, because it just feels like, you know, brave reduction, it's not even there. Anything else, not even there. It's what it feels like. But I mean, of course, with how the difficulty has just recently changed, that might change up a little bit now, which of course I'd have to do some testing outside of that. But this is just, you know, an example of like seeing as how you could have 2 of these burst effects. The burst effect can be extended. Just imagine the possibilities, imagine the damage, imagine the brave damage, etc., etc. when it comes to Gauntlet. Next up, that I thought about was Noctis. Now, Noctis, we already know, whenever anybody in the party or himself does any type of HP damage, Noctis follows up with a follow-up. Now, with Noctis, I feel like he would be right back up in the leaderboard of burst weapons, because you would have 2 of these burst effects. The extension of the 3 turns could, I don't know, maybe potentially they might extend it to 5 turns. And with the direction of how LUFENIA, or the difficulty, is going right now in the JP side, they might just go ahead and increase the amount of potency, HP damage up, etc., in Noctis's burst effect. So I feel like when it comes to Noctis, if he ever gets the chance to realize his burst weapon, I feel like he's gonna be insane. And plus, I mean, his kit is already pretty damn good in my opinion. But hey, we'll see what happens later on when it comes to difficulty. Afterwards, Robza, who we just recently got in the global side. We already know with this burst effect, it is a party-wide burst effect. The effect increases based on the party's total active buffs. So you can get an increase of initial brave, max brave, and attack up to a limit of 90% for those 5 turns right now. And then the maximum brave damage limit is plus 2% per buff up to 13,598. Now think about it. At this point in time, where we are at in the JP side, having those buffs, having those call abilities, etc., you know, they help out a ton. But just imagine if we had this buff, if we had this burst weapon realized, we got an extension on the burst effect, we were able to surpass those percentages that we got going on right now, especially once again with some of the difficult or potential difficulty that could be coming up to JP operaomnia. How helpful Robza would be once again when it comes to set fights. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the guy is bad or anything like that. It's just, you know, whenever it's time to use him, it's time to use him. But sometimes it's better units to be able to use for a set fight because of course, you know, what the LUFENIA orb is, etc. So I'm not trying to say that he's bad or anything like that. He's still one of my favorite supporter burst users. But like, just think again, just think about it. Think about like how crazy he could potentially become with his burst being realized, and all that I just said just basically going right up and making him fun to use once again. Another one that I wanted to mention was Pallet Cecil, another burst user that I know in the global side people are waiting to pull for, because like, look, even in JP he's used even now. Now with Pallet Cecil, he has that party-wide burst effect, which increases brave damage dealt, increases game brave overflow, restores HP, increases brave by all of the percentages that you see on the screen. Just imagine that upgraded, having 2 of this burst effect. You already know. I mean, there's not really much for me to say other than like some of these characters that would get their realizations could be freaking nutty. Sephiroth is another thing. We already know how Sephiroth's burst effect, I feel like it's short. Just imagine if it gets realized. That would be awesome, because that way we could just keep constantly breaking the enemy over and over again. The possibility is almost endless. Then we got BURSTS. His party-wide effect basically raises max brave and attack, increases brave damage, increases HP damage dealt by 20%. You know, just like stuff like that. And you know, even El Naj's burst effect makes it so that basically the enemy can't move at all. It doesn't matter what happens to the debuffs implemented by El Naj, because it stays at whatever the turn count is, because El Naj's burst effect makes it so that it does not decrease after the enemy moves. So, and we already know how his kit works. He throws that frame debuff on from his EX. Bam, you ain't gotta worry about getting attacked. So just like with all of these characters that we got going on, imagine the possibilities of having their burst weapons realized and what insanity they could bring to operaomnia whenever it's their time to shine once again, because it's not like operaomnia forgets about characters. Let's be real, especially when we're talking about just burst characters, because they have come back to a lot of these burst characters before. I mean, take example with Zidane being our new burst plus unit, and then all of a sudden they decided to bring in Yustola, and they also made her the ability, or gave her the ability to have her weapon realized. So it's just like stuff like that that makes you think, what are the possibilities, and what are the possibilities for burst weapons in the future that haven't been released yet into the game. So let me know once again in the comment section below which burst, I guess, like, out of the list of burst weapons or burst units that you see on the screen right now, which one would you be excited for, and why? Other than that though, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for future content. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next video.